Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you here to today's service for the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lower Bucks. My name's Karen Marcus, and I'll be your lay leader for this morning. We thank you for joining us, and if you're new to us, we hope that you find us as a community that offers you love, connection, and acceptance. We certainly hope we do that for everyone who enters our space, whether virtually or with us in person. And we're really happy to have a lot of new faces in the space this morning. So we hope that our message and music today helps you along your personal and spiritual journey. I don't know why, but I always seem to get the bonus Sunday on lay leadership. So this is our 5th Sunday in the month of October. I hope you enjoyed your respite back into summer over the last few days, but it is truly fall, as the weather today is reminding us. We have that theme of hospitality, and of course there's a little blurb that the lay leader reads each and every week, and you've heard it now several times, so I won't repeat it. So I have a question for you. What out of this month of messages are you going to take away with you regarding hospitality? Are you going to offer that spiritual hospitality, opening yourself up to listen to and to invite the stories of others to help them do their own self-discovery? Or perhaps you're someone who's committed now to finding all the diverse identities within yourself that allows you to see the diversity in others, rather than pigeonholing them into one single identity. Or maybe you're simply out there selling onions. And by that I mean what you're doing is taking a moment to move out of your comfort zone, away from those who are most familiar to you, to see someone who is new, whether new to you or new to this space. So where is your hospitality? Because our little script reminds us that hospitality is the ability to overcome barriers. By welcoming the stranger, it elicits willingness to support the common good. So if 4 Sundays and messages weren't enough, as I said, it's a bonus Sunday, so we're happy to have one of our favorite guest speakers, Emily Quarles-Mowrer, with us today. Emily is a longtime friend of UUFLB. As you remember, she was the child of a UU minister, but she has been sharing her own messages in the pulpit since 2006. Her sermon title for this morning is Welcome Work, and she gives you this little teaser as the introduction. In 1997, Pope John Paul II wrote, "Welcoming our brothers and sisters with care and willingness must not be limited to extraordinary occasions, but must become for all believers a habit of service in their daily lives." Even before the pandemic, hospitality could sometimes seem to be too burdensome to be a daily habit. So join us as we think about the small ways we can incorporate the principles of hospitality into our daily lives. And as we know, every great journey begins with that first step. So if you haven't found a hospitality theme to guide you forward in your personal journey, I'm sure you'll find something from today's message with Emily. So Avi wasn't able to be with us today, so we have him recorded. So let's begin our spiritual time together with a musical prelude with Our Own Two Hands by Ben Harper.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to start today with a little bit of reggae. And this song is by Ben Harper, and at the end of every phrase you'll hear, "with our own two hands." And whether you are in this room or on this Zoom, I hope you will join in singing. We can change the world with our own two hands. We can make a better place with our own two hands. We can make a kinder place with our own two hands. With our own two hands. We can make peace on earth with our own two hands. We can clean up the earth with our own two hands. We can reach out to you with our own two hands. With our own two hands. Gonna make it a brighter place. We're gonna make it a safer place. We're gonna help the human race with our own two hands. We can hold you with our own two hands. We can comfort you with our own two hands. But you see, you've got to use your own two hands. Use your own two hands. We're gonna make it a brighter place. We're gonna make it a safer place. We're gonna help the human race with our own two hands. With our own two hands. With our own two hands. With our own two hands.
We always enjoy Avi's music, whether he's here in person or with us virtually. And now I'd like to invite Nancy Harvin to join me with lighting the chalice as I read our opening words. It works. There we go. Thank you, Nancy. Symbol of light and knowledge, symbol of warmth and freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. It is a special Sunday. I know Nancy's got some special activities organized outside for all of our young visitors. But before we send them on their way, we would like to have a message for all ages brought to us by Emily. And then Emily will join us or lead us in singing one verse. Hopefully one verse is enough of Go Now in Peace. And then I'll invite her to share a reading with us this morning. So Emily?
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you all. So this morning we are talking about hospitality, and I've heard that one of the ways that you can make hospitality is to make friends. So I thought we would do a little song together and learn a little bit of sign language about making friends. And you guys may know this song. It's The More We Are Together. So it has a couple of signs in it that we're going to do. So we're going to practice this first. More. And anyone who has had a child in the past like 10 years probably has done baby signs and none more. Okay, the next one is together. Great. And the next one is happy. And then friends. All right, so here we go. We're going to sing. Do you guys know The More We Are Together? You want to sing with me the first time, or do you want me to start? I'll start. Okay, so I will start, and then we'll all sing it together. So it goes like this. It goes, oh, the more we are together, together, together. Oh, the more we are together, the happier we'll be. 'Cause my friends are your friends, and your friends are my friends. Oh, the more we are together, the happier we'll be. Lovely. Do we want to do it one more time? All right. This time we're all going to sing out. Do we need to bring it up a little bit? Or no, we're good? We're good. Okay. So here we go. Oh, the more we are together, together, together. Oh, the more we are together, the happier we'll be. 'Cause my friends are your friends, and your friends are my friends. Oh, the more we are together, the happier we'll be. Wonderful job, everybody. You guys did so great. And that's what hospitality is. Hospitality is bringing people together so we can make more friends. All right. Also brought a reading today. In this reading, you would think, why exactly, when we're talking about hospitality, would we be talking about dogs? But this is an interesting, the people who wrote this book, they are also human anthropologists. They're not just studying dogs. And they had an interesting thing to talk about when they were talking about the way that dogs came into being. They think dogs self-domesticated. So they think that dogs are the descendants, not of wolves that people went out and were like, hey, let's bring a wolf into our, because that doesn't sound like a great idea. But they think that dogs used to hang out on the edges of human settlements, and the friendliest wolves, well, they would survive because they weren't going out there and attacking people and getting killed. So they also think that humans self-domesticated. As an anthropologist interested in human evolution, Richard could not help but tempt us to start thinking about how self-domestication may have occurred in our own species. It quickly became clear that self-domestication may be particularly helpful in explaining the evolution of our species' social cognition, which makes us so different from other apes. Research on infants is what got us thinking about social skills in animals in the first place. This social revolution in humans occurs very early in infants compared with apes. Skills that develop in infants allow them to take advantage of their tolerant environment. We adults share everything with infants. We share food, we share shelter, we share our stuffed animals and books. Well, their stuffed animals and books. And this nurtures their desire to be cooperative. Then, as we grow up, we mature into the cooperative fabric of a larger social group. Building the Great Wall of China, decoding the human genome, forming a democratic government, all of these things require a level of cooperation that is unique to our species. But the question remains, how did humans evolve to be more cooperative in the first place? Bonobos and chimpanzees show us that flexible cooperation requires tolerance. Chimpanzees understand that they need to cooperate to get food, but sometimes that's not enough and their emotions can get the best of them and cooperation will fall apart. A simple but powerful idea. Before humans can become ultra-cooperative, they have to become ultra-tolerant. This tolerance preceded the evolution of the more complex forms of human social cognition. Inferential reasoning, planning, skills for coordination do little good in planning for hunting or finding shelter if no one can tolerate engaging in group activities or listening to what others say. And the brain enabling these sophisticated behaviors is very metabolically expensive. and could not evolve if it were not immediately contributing to the individual's survival. This means it could only be after humans became more tolerant of the stranger, that unique forms of cooperative cognition could have evolved. Selection against aggression made possible the ability to cooperate and communicate in foxes and dogs and bonobos, while perhaps it did the same thing for humans.
Thank you, Emily. I look forward to your message with that as an introduction. And having worked in the past with non-human primates, that really spoke to me. On this bonus Sunday of October, we have one more opportunity to share our gifts with our split plate recipient, Welcoming the Stranger. We know this nonprofit quite well. It offers free classes in English as a second language, computer skills, and United States citizenship exam preparation to adult immigrants and refugees of the greater Philadelphia area. What could be more hospitable than to give immigrants an opportunity to be a part of the American experience and help them along their way? Please be generous.
Autumn time, red leaves fall, while the weeping sky looks over all. Demeter gladly walks the land, the dying grass is in her hand. Autumn time, red leaves fall, while the weeping sky looks over all. Demeter sadly walks the land, the dying grass is in her hand.
Thank you again for your generosity. It's accepted with love and gratitude. And now we'll pause for a musical interlude brought to us by Avi on the screen, Dreamer, Song of Peace by Lloyd Wyatt.
There is a wonderful song that I learned growing up in my childhood called Dreamer, the Song of Peace by Lloyd Wyatt. And it's a song that reminds us that there's always work to do, even in the work of making peace in this world. For our hands are strong and our hearts are young, and a dreamer keeps a dreaming ages long. Keeps a dreaming along. What do we do when we needed corn? We plowed and we sowed till the early morn. What do we do when we needed corn? We plowed and we sowed till the early morn. For our hands are strong and our hearts are young, and a dreamer keeps a dreaming ages long. Keeps a dreaming along. What do we do when we needed a town? We hammered and we nailed till the sun went down. What do we do when we needed a town? We hammered and we nailed till the sun went down. For our hands are strong and our hearts are young, and a dreamer keeps a dreaming ages long. Keeps a dreaming along. What do we do when it's peace that we want? It's more than anyone can build or plant. We gather our friends from the edge of the earth to lend a hand in this hour of birth. We'll plow, we'll sow, we'll hammer and we'll nail. We'll work all day till peace is real.
great musical interlude, even with the brief interruptions. Hopefully they didn't give Mike too much of a heart attack as that was happening. Technology, you gotta love it. Luckily, we have a guest speaker here in person, so I'm certain her technology will support her well. So let's welcome back Emily Quarles-Mowrer for her sermon, Welcome Work.
Welcome work. So if you look up hospitality on the internet, most of the hits are for the hospitality industry. Jobs in the hospitality industry, trends in the hospitality industry, research about the hospitality industry. I mean, of course, this makes sense. Jordan Hollander, writing for Hotel Tech Report, noted that hotels and tourism account for about 10% of the world's GDP. This is a lot of people and resources globally that are expended upon welcoming the stranger. However, the hospitality industry is focused on the needs of the guest and mostly ignores the host. It's kind of a lopsided relationship. And hosts for tourists aren't just the actual owners of the hotels and the restaurants, and they're not just the people who go in and take care of the hotels and the restaurants, but also the people who live in the communities and the countries where the visitors are staying. So I mean, think about that. Like sometimes you go to a city and that city has a reputation for not welcoming the stranger. I'm looking at you, Paris, France. Although honestly, when I was in Paris, like I've only been to Paris once, but everyone was super nice, so. But how often are the needs of those communities around the tourism taken into account? For example, the city of Venice, which is slowly sinking into the sea, well, it's come under fire for attempting to limit tourism by charging tourists a day trip fee. Yet it needs to do something in order to make sure the city is still there for all those tourists to visit. And how welcoming are locals really? I, for one, know that when I visit my sister in New York City, we don't go anywhere near 42nd Street because that's for tourists. And, you know, I would wind up paying tourist prices, and no one wants to pay tourist prices, but tourists don't know any better? I don't know. And tourism can result in gentrification, pricing the locals out. I mean, think about those ordinances you hear about on NPR where cities in Colorado are limiting the number of Verbos and Airbnbs that can be converted because the locals can't afford to pay like $2,000 a week to live in their house. But you can get that much for a Verbo. You can get more than that for a Verbo. Even though many of us interact with hospitality, we think we interact mostly with hospitality through the hospitality industry. When we think about hospitality, when somebody says, what does hospitality mean to you? We think about it in a religious context, and we think about it from the perspective of being a host. We don't think about hospitality as being a good guest. We think about it as being a good host. So a lot of the blogs that I read when I was looking at hospitality for introverts, that's what I looked up on the internet. And a lot of the things that I found were written by the wives of Christian pastors with extroverted husbands who were pastors and loved to entertain. And they talked about the struggle to allow people into their personal space. One story I read, it made me a little upset. It was about a wife tidying up before parishioners who she hadn't met before were going to arrive at the house. And she tried to put the unfolded laundry away in the bedroom, and her husband came and took it out and put it on the hearth. And I mean, can you imagine how mortified she must have been? Like, she hadn't finished the laundry, and there her husband is just making it out there for everyone to see. Well, she said in her blog, oh yes, it was an opportunity to connect more deeply with her guests because, you know, everybody has that time where they're trying to get a bunch of stuff done and they don't manage to get through the laundry. So And, you know, the couple that was visiting felt a little less awkward seeing that imperfection, and she framed it as a learning experience, but I felt like it was a disrespectful experience, because it feels awful enough to have people in your house when you, like, are prepared, but sometimes it just feels that much worse if you're unprepared. But the point of many of these blogs that I read was that you don't have to have a perfect house, and you don't have to have a special occasion to open your home. Hospitality is not about meeting people where they are, but it's also about meeting people where you are. And allowing someone in, well, that makes you vulnerable. And you know, so much of what we hear about hospitality has to do with inviting people in. But we think of it specifically as inviting people into our homes. If you hear hospitality, the first thing you think of is hosting a party. Or at least that's the first thing I think of. And I have trouble with that being the only concept of hospitality because I don't want to have people over. I don't have the kind of house that you see featured in magazines, or, I mean, in some sense you could say that I do have the kind of house that you see in magazines in the before picture. Like complete with the unpainted drywall on one wall and the raw plywood stairs, the window that my husband never bothered to finish putting the trim up. The window's been there for 10 years, but there's still, like, you can still see the installation just popping through. And I also have a dog that gets too excited about visitors and cats that shed everywhere and a Roomba that can't keep up. And thinking about having people over makes my skin feel itchy and my stomach feel sick. And you know, hospitality is not a commandment for UUs. You know, the quote that I read or that I put in for Pope John Paul for that's like a commandment, thou shalt be hospitable, like welcome the stranger. And you know, we believe in welcoming the stranger. We believe in making sure that everyone is inside that circle of love and compassion, but it's not something where people are outright saying, if you can't let people in your house, you're sinning. And I did read that as an opinion, that it's disobedient or sinful to not open your home to people. And I'm not any more comfortable with that language than I am with people seeing my unfinished house. So a UC Berkeley Greater Good white paper on the science of generosity, written by Summer Allen, PhD, notes that a meta-analysis of 37 studies of older adults found that those who volunteered reported a greater quality of life, and another study found that frequent helpers reported feeling greater vitality and self-esteem, but only if they chose to help of their own accord. I feel like generosity and hospitality, those are things that can't be forced. You don't feel vitality and self-esteem if somebody is pushing you into doing it. But if you have the feeling that you can do it on your own, or if you feel this great need, then you can feel then you can feel that vitality, that boost that you get from, like, I did something good. What I wrote actually was hospitality can be forced, sure, but if you've ever worked a job in hospitality or retail, you know that there's a difference between customer service with a smile and genuinely being open to connecting with the people around you. The golden rule says that you should treat others as you would have them treat you. And when I hear that, I think I mostly want other people to leave me alone. So when I don't reach out and when I'm shutting myself in my house, I'm just treating others the way I want to be treated. Can't I just read my book? But is that really true? I mean, if I have to be in public, I don't want to just be standing awkwardly on the periphery. I want to have someone to talk to. Shankar Vedantam's Hidden Brain this week started by saying, and if any of you heard it, making more than $30,000 a year is 10 times the global median income and is the top 5% of global incomes. So having a house with electricity and climate control and indoor plumbing no matter how embarrassing the aesthetics, is more than most people on the planet. I have so much that I should be grateful for. I have so much that I can share. And even though personal hospitality seems to have become inextricably entwined with hosting people at one's own home, that's not the only way to welcome the stranger. So I'm sure that you are all familiar with the biblical story of the Good Samaritan. So, there's a man who's been beaten and left on the side of the road, and there are two people who walk by and who feel like it's unclean to touch this person. And then the Samaritan comes along and helps him and binds his wounds and pays for his stay at the inn. And, it's the most famous biblical story about hospitality. That is what we hold up as hospitality. And that Samaritan put that injured man up at a hotel. You don't have to open your home as long as you are opening your heart. The hospitality industry is about providing a service, but hospitality is about providing care. And I think sometimes we conflate those two. When we're talking about welcoming the stranger, we're not talking about providing 5-star service. Or if we are, then we shouldn't be. Hospitality is about opening our hearts. And if we limit our definition of hospitality to hosting people and offering food, then we're excluding from that grace all those people who don't have extra food or a home to offer. But we don't think that those people are excluded from hospitality, from offering it, or from accepting it. Just like in hymn 213, there's a wideness in your mercy. Sometimes we make love too narrow by false limits of our own, and we magnify strictness with a zeal that God would not own. Sarah Elizabeth Finch wrote a blog post for IBelieve.com called How to Be Neighborly in the Suburbs. And this is a really, really simple guide to being neighborly, not just in the suburbs, but anywhere you might go. It doesn't require a beautiful house, or the ability to bake, or the money to buy treats for someone for random acts of kindness. All it requires is time and presence. So she has 4 keys. First, welcome the interruption. Second, say hello. Third, stay long enough to listen. And fourth, come back again for more. Those all seem like really easy ways. So welcoming the interruption. Our lives are really, really busy, and sometimes that's a source of pride, and sometimes it's a source of dismay, but it's a reality of the way that our specific culture runs. And just like I always think of UU Minister Gordon B. McKeeman when he's talking about how if you're stuck behind a really slow minivan when you're late to get somewhere, you should be thanking it for the opportunity to not get pulled over for speeding. So I think of my goal to treat people with respect and dignity every time I am tempted to bow out of an interaction. They are being my pace car, and I'm going to not get pulled over for being ungracious. The next one she said is say hello. It sounds really self-explanatory, but how many times a day do we actually greet people? Like, even the people we don't know. We say hi to our friends, of course. If you see someone and you know them, of course you're going to say hello. Unless you're like, occasionally I will be like wearing sweatpants and in a store, and I'll just slide down the aisle. I didn't see anybody. I don't know you. My hair is disgusting. But most of the time, we see people, we greet people, we say hello. And you know what? Nobody's going to judge you if you are wearing sweatpants in the grocery store. It's not like you're going to get stuck on that, what they wore to Walmart website. But we can greet even the people we don't know. Maybe especially the people we don't know. There are people we see every day. We might see coworkers or grocery store clerks, the person walking their dog in the neighborhood, the person working the window at the coffee shop. There's a lot of research about how strong social bonds, like those between family and close friends, are really protective for your mental health. But there's also research that says that those weak social bonds, those social bonds of people that you just know enough to say hello to, those are also really good for your mental health. Smiling at a stranger is good for you and them. The next thing she says is stay long enough to listen. My sister said this once. She said, well, if I lose my money, I can always make more. But we can't make more time. Giving someone the gift of our time and offering someone our attention, really listening, that's the most precious gift that we can offer. And the next thing she says is come back again for more. Now, not every interaction is going to lead to a lifelong friendship. But, as Rosaria Butterfield writes for Crossway, when we are in each other's lives daily, we are not operating with ignorance or stereotypes about other people and their lifestyles. If you say hi to someone daily, it's a lot harder to other them. I recently went to the Sheep and Wool Festival in Rhinebeck, New York. If you are not someone who is involved with the fiber arts, like knitting and crocheting and felting and spinning and weaving, you may not have heard of this gathering. I am not a knitter, full confession. I went to Rhinebeck and I'm not a knitter. People were like, what? But I have a friend who has finished countless knitting projects for her family and her friends and local charities. And so she lent me a scarf so that I would fit in. And the thing that I found really striking was how warm the community was. It was like thousands of perfect strangers, but everyone would stop each other in the hallways and in the concourses and say, oh my goodness, I love your sweater. Where did you get the pattern? Or, I did that hat just a couple of weeks ago. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. And wasn't that wool so soft that came from this maker who is in Baltimore who sells them for, I don't know, there was one person who she uses the proceeds to support her favorite political candidates. And people know these things. It's like this whole minor celebrity culture. And it was wonderful just to see how lovely people were to each other, to be in a big, huge crowd of people who were all smiling and happy and supportive. And actually, this was my favorite story, the favorite thing that I saw all weekend. There was a mother and daughter who were walking down the concourse. I think they might have even been waiting in line for the gift bags, which those things sold out, and the line up until it sold out was down the block. It must have been an hour's wait to get a gift bag. So, wow, order in advance, people. So this mom and daughter were wearing these matching skirts that the mom had knitted, and this woman came up to them and said, oh, I love your skirts. I created that pattern and I've never seen it in the wild. Can I take your picture? It was so cute. None of us were at home, but all of us were offering hospitality in the form of genuine smiles, sincere compliments, and warm conversations. Melanie at Gather for Bread gives a definition for practical hospitality. She writes, practical hospitality is about serving others the best way that you can, meeting a need, and serving someone in love. So whether you believe in design or in self-selection or in evolution or some combination of all of these, humans are made to be together. Even the introverts. Humans are made to be together and to come together with one another and support each other. We're meant to help one another, and that is our great work.
Thank you for that message, Emily. There were so many threads in there that I resonated with. A sister who is a minister's wife. All those things that you were touching on today really spoke to me. We thank you so much for those thoughts and for that simple way of telling us that hospitality is really just opening our heart. So now's the time in our service for our expression of joys and sorrows, talking about opening our hearts. If you wish to share something today, please come forward to this microphone, and it can be a joy or a sorrow. Would anybody like to share today? Well, I'm certain there are joys and sorrows that are out there and remain unspoken. So if yours is a joy, I hope you feel us celebrating with you. And if yours is a sorrow, certainly I hope you feel our compassion and sympathy. So let's take just a moment to pause and reflect and sing Spirit of Life. You can remain seated. So now join me in a prayer offered by Reverend Tim Haley titled, Amid All the Noise in Our Lives. You'll see the words up there and you can read along with me. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, give thanks for the gift of life. We know we are on our pilgrimage here, but a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on this earth. Now we have a closing song that will be a video with Avi Wisnia. It is a hymn, 1021, Lean on Me by Bill Withers, and on your seat, you're either sitting on it or it's next to you, is a nice orange piece of paper there that will have the lyrics for you.
Please join me in our closing song, hymn number 1021 by Bill Withers, Lean on Me.
Let's stand.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always somebody to lean on. If there is a load that you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me, lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Call me, oh, you can just call me, call me.
That was fun. Listen to these words of the Reverend Krista Taves, the work we share as we extinguish the chalice. You've heard it several times this month. This will be maybe the last time you hear it, so perhaps you'll want to pay particular attention. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us together, in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. This concludes our service. For those of you who are with us on Zoom, we thank you for joining us today. We certainly hope that you'll be here again with us next week. In the meantime, I'd like to thank Emily for her very special sermon this morning, and for all of our music makers today. Thank you for making it a special service. Let us continue now in conversation and fellowship and coffee in the cafeteria for those of you who are here in person. Thank you all for being here today. Go now in peace. Amen, and blessed be.